It's no secret that we humans rank pretty high above other animals in terms of intelligence. We create things and solve problems better than any other known living thing, and that means we can figure out stuff. But smart as we might be, there is no denying that we still have a long way to go in uncovering not one, but a gazillion of mysteries on our planet. Some have been around for years, still, more incoming every day. And today's video is about these mysteries that have kept the most brilliant of minds on toes. All for nothing. Number 10. The Tunguska Event. To this day, scientists are still speculating as to what happened in June of 1908 in Siberia. More than 20,000 square kilometers of trees were right out flattened by what has been termed an explosion. An estimated 80 million trees are said to have been felled by that explosion, which is likened to 1,000 Hiroshima atomic bombs. The ensuring brightness stayed on for some days and was observable during the night across many parts of Europe. And it's not just trees that were victims. At least 3 people perished in the shockwave. Additionally, it momentarily lifted people off their feet and broke windows hundreds of kilometers away. The cause of the explosion is largely unclear, though the most fronted explanation is that it was a result of an impact event. That is, the Earth might have been hit by an airburst from an asteroid. It's largely speculative, though, since the center of the affected area had no crater. It was only a bog, presumably due to the hot air. That meant no solid material to analyze and, hence, is certain what happened. Number 9. D.B. Cooper's identity. Dan Cooper, or D.B. Cooper as he is popularly known, is one man whose identity and fate are still a subject of speculation, even though the event that threw his name to the public happened almost 50 years ago. The passengers of Northwest Airlines Flight 350 offered a glimpse of the mysterious man. According to accounts of those who were on board the Portland to Seattle half-an-hour flight, Cooper might have been in his mid-40s and was one well-dressed gentleman. As soon as the plane was up in the skies, Cooper handed a note to one of the air hostesses. On the piece of paper, he had made several demands, including a cash bounty of $200,000, 4 parachutes, and a fuel truck on standby to refuel the plane as soon as it touched down in Seattle. All of these were met, and Cooper, with a number of the crew, took off from Seattle, 2 hours after the plane had landed. But when it touched down in Reno, the man was nowhere to be seen, and he hasn't been seen or heard from to this day. Part of the cache was found in Oregon in 1980, but a search of the area for Cooper yielded nothing. Recently in 2017, a parachute strap was found in one of the likely areas that D.B. Cooper landed. Number 8. The Malaysian plane disappearance. March 8, 2014 is a date that will forever remain a significant part of Malaysian Airlines history. This is the day that their plane, MH370, or simply Flight 370, went missing. And to this day, nothing has been found of the plane. Flying from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing, China, the plane lost contact with air traffic control just 40 minutes into its journey. But for the next hour or so, it stayed on military radar and was noted to deviate from its initial course, crossing the Malay Peninsula and the Andaman Sea. After the hour elapsed, the plane disappeared for good. 239 people, out of which 12 were crew, on board Flight 70 had been presumed dead. That is despite concerted efforts by Malaysia, Australia, and China. Not just the disappearance of the craft hit Malaysia. The search, which was the most expensive in aviation history, cost the country close to $90 million of a total of $155 million. As with any unsolved mysteries, there's been several conspiracies trying to explain what happened to the plane. The most common ones include crew suicide, seeing as the pilot had marital problems, a fire incident on the plane, possible capture by the US, and, you won't believe this, alien abduction. Number 7. Area 51. You've probably heard about it. The US Air Force military base found somewhere in southern Nevada. Know anything else about it? Probably not, and no one else does. Well, except those who work there. What we have are speculations and conspiracy theories of what and why might be in Area 51. In fact, its existence was largely speculative until as recent as 2013. What goes on in there? A lot. Just what this a lot means is still a big secret. Some quarters believe that Area 51 is a testing ground for aircraft and weapons. This makes sense since it's a military base in the first place. Sensible as that seems, the heavy secrecy that surrounds the activities at this place has given way to wild conspiracy theories. As per several conspiracy theorists, this area is used to study alien life. Claims stretch as far as there being a UFO and labs for examining aliens. Other propositions as to why Area 51 exists include the development of means of controlling the weather, a deep dive into teleportation, and establishment of a new world order, where the whole planet is under a single authority. Unless you get a chance to set foot there, you'll have to make do with the above speculations, however far-fetched they may sound. Or maybe just forget about it altogether. Now excuse me, I gotta go practice my Naruto running. Number 6. The Dog Suicide Bridge. Suicide is, most of the time, among us humans. Anywhere else in the animal kingdom? Quite unheard of. And it becomes more intriguing when all the animals choose only a particular spot to end their lives. Such is the case of the Overtone Bridge, found near Dumbarton in Scotland. The bridge has been the perfect spot for dogs to leap to their deaths from the 1960s, though it gained attention only recently in 2005. More than a dozen dogs have jumped off that bridge, perishing in the process. Nearly hundreds of others have been lucky enough to survive the 15-meter crash, but sustain serious injuries nonetheless. But why? What could be compelling dogs to a tendency that is unnatural to them? Scientists have chipped in attributing this to a strong scent from a mink's urine down below. This has been disputed by locals who deny ever seeing a mink around the area. Others claim that there is a sound abnormally below the bridge, which only dogs can hear and are attracted to it. Most locals believe the bridge is haunted by the ghost of John White's widow, who once owned the Overtone estate. And it's not just the bridge. The locals have claimed to see the ghost in different parts of the property over the years. But the reason as to why dogs jump off that bridge is still unclear. So, if you ever land on that bridge with your canine friend, make sure to keep them leashed. Number 5. ANTIKYTHERA mechanism. Probably the oldest mystery on the list, the ANTIKYTHERA mechanism is an ancient piece of technology discovered in a 2,000-year-old shipwreck. The name ANTIKYTHERA is a reference to a Greek island by the same name, off of which the damaged water vessel was discovered. Its exact use wasn't immediately known until later on in 1959. Derek J. DiSola, a scientist historian at Princeton University, came forward with a plausible explanation of what the ANTIKYTHERA mechanism was used for. After a closer look at the gears, he found out that this device was used to predict the different positions of planets, as well as stars depending on the month. All you had to do was set the main gear a calendar date of your choice, and the piece will work out the rest for you. Despite this, it is not yet clear who made it, and how such a sophisticated piece of tech was born in a time when making such a thing was impossible. Number 4. The Mary Celeste. In November of 1872, a British-American ship called the Mary Celeste set sail. From New York, it was expected that it will dock in a few months in Genoa, Italy. So it was packed with enough supplies for 6 months. Aboard it was Captain Benjamin Briggs, 7 crew members, and his wife and daughter. But the 9 people never reached Genoa. In December of the same year, the Mary Celeste was found adrift in the Atlantic with everything in perfect condition, except for the missing lifeboat and the people who were on board. To this day, more than hundreds of years later, the fate of the passengers is still unknown. What would prompt people to abandon a perfect ship at sea? A lot of theories have been advanced, but none so far have been proven. Commonly fronted arguments include a possible attack by huge sea creatures or pirates of mutiny. Scientists have come up with another theory in recent years. Fumes from alcohol on board caused an explosion, but, get this, due to a scientific anomaly, there were no signs of burning. This is something that was demonstrated by a UCL scientist. Briggs is said to have led the crew and his family of the ship via the lifeboat due to the explosion. Number 3. Roanoke, the Lost Colony. John White was the leader of colonists that took over Roanoke Island in 1587. Having made sure everything was smooth, White left the new colony with an aim to return with more supplies. But 3 years down the line, he returned to an abandoned island. Were the colonists captured? He didn't think so, as they hadn't carved a cross in a nearby tree, as he had instructed them. To this day, no one knows what happened to the inhabitants of Roanoke Island. Now it's time for today's best pick. Today's photo was sent to us by a subscriber, so if you come across a photo online and want to know more details about it, just send it over to us. We might even feature it on a future video. Number 2. Bermuda Triangle. In the clearly photoshopped pic, there's a plane on the verge of plunging into what seems like a depression in a large water body. This is a depiction of the famous Bermuda Triangle, an area in the North Atlantic Ocean responsible for the mysterious disappearance of countless ships and airplanes. Exactly what's beneath the water in that region is unknown, since it's impossible to venture out near it. Theories have been mainly about UFOs and sea monsters capturing these vessels, but all the same, it's among the most intriguing and unsolved mysteries of our time. And it doesn't look like it'll be figured out soon, because the disappearances date back as far as 500 years ago. Number 1. VOYNICH manuscript. Scientists have been able to figure out drawings on cave walls by the early man. Hieroglyphics is another writing system that is no longer a mystery, but the VOYNICH manuscript? Not a single person has been able to read, let alone understand what is contained in this book of over 200 pages. The VOYNICH manuscript is a booklet that dates back to the 1400s, containing writings and drawings of never-seen-before plants and animals. It was named after a Wilfred M. Voynich, a rare book dealer who bought it in 1912. Mr. Voynich suggested that the manuscript might have been written by either Roger Bacon, a scientist, or an alchemist going by the name of Albertus Magnus. The manuscript is believed to have been written for medical purposes. Its first ever owner was an alchemist by the name of George Barashish. Having discovered it just sitting pretty in his library, he had tried to trace its origin, but failed. That's about it. Over the years, linguists, researchers, and cryptographers have unsuccessfully given a shot at uncovering the seemingly hidden message of the manuscript. We just hope the meaning will be worth all the centuries of brain racking.